Boruto Chapter 10 is here, and it's a bonkers chapter. I've got a pretty good feeling about the translations. I myself have gone and cross-referenced some of the lines just to make sure it's as close to accurate as possible. So I'm going to go ahead and give you guys a full chapter review. But if you'd like to wait for the actual chapter to get released, please be advised, we've got Chapter 10 spoilers. In today's Boruto stream, I'm going to break down every big moment in Chapter 10, including Sarada's fight with Hidari, Himawari's conversation with Kurama, Kawaki's moment as a good big brother, and of course, one character ending up in critical condition, possibly dead. But first, if you guys wouldn't mind liking the video and subscribing to my channel, it would mean the world to me. Alright, let's get into it. Chapter 10 starts right into the action, with Jura telling Hidari about wanting to go after Team 10. We're again shown the juxtaposition of an absolutely violent villain, seemingly considering all of the possibilities as he considers the safety of the village before jetting off to fight Himawari. Meanwhile, we get Konohamaru confronting Hidari for the first time and confirming that Hidari is in fact the tree version of Sasuke. And while this is a cool moment for Konohamaru, because this is the most we've seen out of him since the time skip started, this also ends up being yet another moment where Konohamaru gets upstaged by a member of Team 7. And in this case, that's Sarada, because Sarada shows up right before they're about to face off, only for Hidari to attack her right out of the gate. And if you watch my promo breakdown, then you know that this was something that I was predicting and something that I think should be very telling about Hidari's character. Whereas Jura seems to be interested in getting all of the facts and having an open line of communication, Hidari seems to just mostly be interested in throwing down. He attacked Boruto right out of the gate, and now he's attacking Sarada right out of the gate. Of course, in this case, it appears that Hidari picked a fight with the wrong person, because Sarada, despite being on the receiving end of the attack, and not prepared at all, dodges Hidari twice, including his Chidori, and then hits him with a Chidori of her own, knocking him to the ground. The scene ends with Sarada confronting Hidari over who exactly he is and why he's able to use the Chidori as he slowly gets to his feet. This is unfortunately the last we see of Sarada versus Hidari in this chapter, but I'm sure Chapter 11 will give us some closure on this scene. Meanwhile, Delta and Kawaki are still standing upon the rooftop, listening in on what's going on via mind transmission. And before I dig in further here, I want to quickly point out that at this point, Boruto is still very much in the village resting. Kawaki could be tailing him and trying to track him down, because he's very much still within Kawaki's range. But instead, we don't actually get any Momoshiki or Borushiki action this chapter, because Delta and Kawaki have just found out that Himawari is in trouble, and instead of chasing Boruto, we finally get that big brother moment that many people have questioned whether or not it was ever going to happen, and if Kawaki was actually going to deliver on his duties as an older brother to Himawari. Kawaki, in true Kawaki form, still finds a way to make sure Shikamaru knows that he's pissed that he's finding out about this now, before flying off towards Himawari without another word. All of his obsession with trying to defeat Boruto goes out of the door, and I think this is important context here. I've mentioned this theory in prior videos, but I don't think we've gotten a proper understanding of the undertaking that Kawaki is signed up for. With everything we know about Boruto and everything that we know about Kawaki, I still feel that the exchange between them in the last chapter felt off. Boruto is mad that Kawaki isn't training? How does that seem right? And maybe the better question is, why does Kawaki appear to have not been training? I mean, he's definitely gotten stronger since the time skip. He's got all 8 spokes in his dojutsu, he can fly in base form, and he can summon chakra rods in base form as well, but it begs the question, if that's really not strong enough to get the job done, why is someone that's obsessed with killing Boruto doing such a horrible job of trying to achieve his own goal? You can either believe that Kawaki is so arrogant that he really thinks he doesn't have to get stronger, or there's gotta be some information that we're missing. And I think that the Sarada versus Hidari confrontation was very telling in this regard too. Because why would Kawaki struggle against Hidari and or Jura despite getting the jump on them when Sarada is able to put Hidari on the ground immediately after he sneaks up on her. Something feels purposefully off power scale wise. So unless we're about to see Kawaki get face planted yet again in chapter 11, I'm expecting to see something else out of Kawaki's bag when he finally intervenes in the battle between Himawari and Jura. Speaking of which, the 20-plus page sequence between Himawari and Jura, plus Jura's attack on Himawari and Team 10, ended up being one of the coolest and darkest sequences that we've had so far in Boruto 2 Blue Vortex, and also very informative. We got so much information, including the fact that Himawari is actually a much better match for Kurama's chakra than Naruto himself. And I think that Kishimoto is purposefully being coy with the reason that Kurama lives within Himawari. I think on some level you can point to him maybe not wanting to step on the logic of the previous continuity with how the tailed beasts spawn and how and why Kurama would show back up in Himawari's body. But at the same time, I'm not so sure he couldn't have just given us the answer through Kurama right there and done it without a ton of pushback. So that leads me to believe that the real reason that Kurama himself is so unsure why exactly he's been revived within Himawari's body is actually because Kishimoto has something far deeper planned for Himawari, and we're just scratching the surface on it right now. And there's a lot of evidence of this too, because Kurama brings up the fact that Himawari has Hinata's blood, and the fact that she already had his chakra. This is something we'll definitely want to keep an eye on as the story progresses, because when an author has something that they can easily explain in a single panel, but they end up pulling away from giving the explanation, it's probably not that Kishimoto just didn't want to commit to an answer. And more so, that the answer itself has significant plot relevance and could give something away down the line. So as we're getting this great information from Kurama, Team 10 is begging Himawari to wake up, worried that she might have hit her head when they notice that Jura is hot on their tail. And Jura, being the badass that he is, unleashes another tailed beast eye bomb while flying that sends Team 10 and Himawari scrambling to land safely. And it's there that we get Himawari attempting to engage Jura in combat, only to get her legs snapped immediately, and then we get a major pivotal moment for Himawari in this chapter, because Himawari finally gets a reason to step into the fight as the aggressor when Inojin is impaled by Jura's wood-style ground spikes. And I just want to say, I'm not saying that Inojin is done for sure, but I don't know how this character survives getting impaled like that. I mean, it was Neji-esque. We saw it happen to Neji and it was bye-bye. Heck, even Boruto died when he got run through by Kawaki's scientific ninja claw in part 1, and this looked way more intense. I understand that this is shonen and that theoretically Sakura could just show up in the nick of time to save Inojin's life, but I have a hard time imagining him surviving when the fight is just getting started and they're well outside of the village. That being said, dead or not, Inojin ends up being the catalyst that gives us one of the coolest panels in the story so far, where Himawari channels her inner Kushina to give us the wild-haired Uzumaki Jinchuriki once again. And I want to point out a couple of things here with Kurama teaming up with Himawari, because he does appear to be coaching her to fight, and it feels a little bit like he's trying to push her down the path of embracing her aggression a little bit. But at the same time, I don't think that this is a mirror version of what we got when Kurama leaked his chakra to Naruto throughout part 1 and part 2 of Naruto. At that point, Kurama was leaking chakra to Naruto to hopefully take over his body. In this case, it looks like Kurama clearly just needs to see that Himawari is both mentally and physically strong enough that she can use his chakra without dying. Either way, I'm pumped to finally see Himawari step up and to have Kurama back in action. But what do you guys think? Do you think Himawari stands a shot against Jura with the KCM chakra? What about Sarada versus Hidari? Let me know in the comments, and if you liked the video, please give it a like and subscribe to the channel. Thanks. Toodles.